just to the east and just to the southeast of that rotational couplet, that is where you want to be seeking shelter. And again, if you are in Perry Hall, you want to be seeking shelter as well. If you are off to the west, out towards Kearney, this is actually moving away from you. Up towards Falston and up towards Pleasant Hills, these areas will be in the way of that rotation. And this is moving right over I-95, so we have a pretty densely populated corridor going down towards the south, but this is going to be moving off to the southeast. It's pretty much stationary, so this is not going to impact many cities, many towns, but I just want you to be prepared as we're going to be looking at that moving off to the west. Let's go ahead and see if we have a brand new updated look at the Doppler radar here. And you can see that as we go ahead and zoom out, you can see we still have a little bit of rotation here, all right? You can still see it. This is what we call velocity, which is winds moving with different directions. So, you know, we're going to stay with you until we see that going away, and we're hoping that this warning gets canceled sooner rather than later. But right now, we still have that tornado warning until 5:30 p.m. for parts of Baltimore County, and this will even clip parts of the north as well. So again, this is going to be moving off to the southeast pretty rapidly here. You'll notice that as we go ahead and kind of put things into motion, let's go ahead and get rid of the warning for you, and let's go ahead and put the radar back into motion. There we go. You can see that things are becoming a bit more subdued. So with that latest radar updated that we got within the past couple of minutes, that's actually good news. You'll notice that 20 minutes ago, we had a bit more of a defined hook echo. Right there, it was defined, and now things are pretty much enclosing. And so sometimes what you can do is you can get these heavy downpours that push outward, and that can kill off some of the inflow. I'm hoping that's what we're seeing right now. But nonetheless, this is a very dangerous storm. Other things to include, we could be looking at hail upwards of a ½ inch to maybe an inch in diameter. That's pretty large hail. The other thing to include, damaging winds. Look, you may not get hit by a tornado. More likely than not, you probably won't, but you should assume that you will because you always want to prepare for the worst. But nonetheless, we will be looking at winds gusting up to about 60 miles per hour. That's pretty fast. It's still enough to do some damage here. Here's the town of Edgewood. So you can see right there, that hail core is stretching out over the I-95 corridor into Edgewood and also down to the south. But you'll notice that this goes back to 4:35. So that would be over 40 minutes ago. And you'll notice that this is not moving all that quickly. It's pretty stationary. So it's actually good news here. As we go off further to the west, we're not really looking at a whole lot more activity showing up on the map. So that is some promising news. But again, I want to stop it here so that we can stay on our most recent radar. And you can see that, again, things are still looking pretty heavy here as we have a little bit of hail showing up across the region. And also we're going to be looking at some heavy downpours as well. Off to the west, again, nothing else. If you are outside of this area, we're not looking at a whole lot showing up on the map. It's really particularly from Edgewood off towards Perry Hall, up towards Baldwin, that we're tracking the heavy downpours and also that chance of a tornado. So as we are looking, just waiting for our latest update on the velocity, again, we're looking at the wind profile within the storm. You can see right here that as we turn on our lightning flasher, here's something that is quite peculiar. So as we turn on our lightning flasher, what we're seeing is an increase in the density of these lightning strikes. So what does that tell me? If there's an increase in the density of lightning strikes, that tells me that there's a lot of convection going on. You've got a lot of rising air because you don't get that much lightning unless you have a powerful storm, all right? So that's what we know right now, is that we have a storm, the storm is growing, and also there's rotation. And you can see that rotation right down the south of Baldwin, just north of Perry Hall. And we've been on the air now for about 11 minutes, and it's still the same towns that are in the path of that rotation. And the reason why is because we don't really have a whole lot of jet stream flow to really push this storm along. It's basically stationary. It's basically sitting right on top of you here. But again, Perry Hall, Baldwin, Ballston, all those towns right now, you don't want to be going outside and looking at the storm because we are getting signs of rotation. Okay, it's 5:11 right now. We're waiting for another update from the radar because it updates every 5 minutes. We had our last update about 3 minutes ago, waiting for our newest update in about 2 minutes. And you'll see that things look like they are pretty tightening. You know, I've seen supercells that have had a better, what we call wind shear profile than what we're seeing right here. But I mean, this is a very healthy thunderstorm. This is, at one point, it was textbook style. I mean, if we go back over the last 20 minutes, we had that classic hook. I mean, that was a textbook meteorology 101 textbook hook right there. And now things are becoming a bit more subdued. So that may actually be signs that the storm could be eventually weakening a little bit. But again, we're going to stay with you here just until the warning has passed because this was a newly issued warning that just came out within the past half hour or so. Let's go ahead and turn off the lightning here. And I want to kind of zoom into street level. And again, I'm using my computer, so I'm staying with you. I'm just off to the side. And let's go ahead and really zoom in. So again, some other areas and towns that may be impacted. We have Marywood, we have Kingsville, we have Upper Falls, we have Wesley Woods. These areas, again, these smaller towns have a lot of homes in this area. A lot of towns, a lot of folks live out in this area. So the main concern will be, again, that rotation. And again, if there is a tornado, it would be right in here around Wesley Woods where the red meets the green. Again, that's where that rotation would be. So that's what our main concern is right now at this time. As we go ahead and look, Highway 147, Highway 1, and also Highway 7. Again, this is moving towards Highway 7 right now, only at about 10 miles per hour. So it'll take a while to get there. But these roadways, I-95, a lot of traffic on this way. That's where the rotation appears to be heading. But you'll notice that as we look at the past 20 minutes or so, it appears to be weakening a little bit. So you can see right there, we had the darker greens, and I'll step back on to kind of better point out for you what exactly we're looking at here. So the dark green right there, see how we had, wait for it, the dark green, and then it kind of goes away. Now we're just looking at light green. That's good. That means that we might have strong wind, but the rotation is weakening. So right there, again, we have strong rotation, and now it's weakening. So the red would be the wind going away from the radar. That wind is still pretty strong right now, but the wind going towards the radar, that appears to be weakening. So we're not getting as much rotation. You still want to definitely stay inside because we are going to be looking at this rapidly moving off to the northeast here. And it does actually appear that there's a slight change in direction. A few minutes ago, it was a bit more stationary. Now it's kind of drifting a little bit further to the northeast. But that right there, as a meteorologist, that is a good sign when the rotation starts to weaken. Still getting a lot of lightning here, and I'll switch back on the lightning profile for you in a minute, but the fact that the rotation is weakening, that is great right now. So we're going to keep an eye on that for you here. But if you recall, 15 minutes ago when we stepped on, it was moving off to the, it looked like it was drifting more off down to the southeast, but that's no longer the case. Now it looks like it's moving a little bit to the northeast, so that is good. But let's go ahead and pause the radar one more time. And I want to go ahead and show you exactly where this is moving right now. And again, this is a pretty quick storm. All right. So again, we're looking at some strong winds right now, and I'm trying to go ahead and draw out for you where the path of that rotation would be. So the storm is moving, looks like it's moving northeast here at about 10 miles per hour. All right. So 532, it's going to be approaching Highway 24, and that's going to be just to the west of Highway 24. All right. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. And you'll see that as we flip back on our lightning profile, things are definitely not as condensed. Remember, 10 minutes ago just how dense it was. That's not exactly what we're looking at right now. So that is good. Again, this is moving up over I-95. If it makes it that far, this is moving very slowly, only at about 10 miles per hour. So we'll see exactly what happens. But nonetheless, we still do have that warning, and we'll put the warning back on. And, you know, the National Weather Service, sometimes they'll make the warnings go away. They'll expire them earlier if the rotation is a little bit more relaxed and there's not as tight rotation, but they're still keeping the warning until 5:30, which is another 13 minutes from right now. Impacting parts of Baltimore County. Will this make it to Bel Air? More likely than not. I think it's going to dissipate before it gets to there, but we're still looking at a pretty healthy storm right now. And you can see that Highway 1, again, if you are on Highway 1, Highway 40, these areas definitely could be impacted by it. Now, as we go ahead and take a look at some of our other parameters right now, what is the pink that I'm showing you on the map? So this is what we call a Doppler radar indicated hail. So here's the polygon, if you want to call it that. That would be that red polygon where the tornado warning is. But this pink right here is where the Doppler radar is depicting hail. Okay, so the Doppler radar sends the beam up to about 10,000 feet, and it's showing that we are getting hail reports about a ½ inch in diameter for some of you. All right, so even if the risk of a tornado might be low, hail could be another problem here. ½ inch diameter hail, that is enough to do some damage here, and that's still over Kingsville. And we're still talking about Kingsville. 20 minutes ago, the storm was about over Perry Hall, and it hasn't really shifted a whole lot. And so this is moving up towards Pleasant Hills, and then also up to Bel Air. But like I said, I expect it to expire before it makes it to that area. All right, so here's your legend right here. So as we're talking about hail, a hail signature, this is possible hail. I mean, if you start getting the bright white color at that point in time, we're looking at large hail. We're not at that right now. So we're looking at possible hail here on the map. A lot of the lightning, that core of lightning, is actually a bit off to the east. Typically, if there is a tornado, it's what we call the rotational updraft, the updraft part of the storm. And the updraft part of the storm oftentimes doesn't have a lot of rain. So most of your heavy rain is off to the east. The rotation, though, has been over Kingsville and over Perry Hall for the last 20 minutes or so. So we're going to go ahead and flip back on our velocity product for you, and you'll see that we're looking at this rotation. We did just get an update about 2 minutes ago from the National Weather Service showing, let me go ahead and get rid of that. I want to take a look at the latest wind profile. I have definitely seen more impressive wind signatures. I mean, we're still looking at some rotation, but at this point in time, we are looking at that rotation not as strong as we did within the last half hour. You can see at 4:50, it was pretty strong just north of Perry Hall, and now it's weakening just a bit. So at this point in time, we are going to go back to reflectivity, and you'll see as we go ahead and pause this for you right there, stopping it at about 5:20 p.m., just how strong that area of rain is. I mean, we're looking at rainfall rates up and over 1 inch per hour. And as we head just to the north of White Marsh, you can see here through Batter Brook Farms in Kingsville, the rotation really hasn't moved its location from where it was just a little while ago. We saw some really strong rotation at about 450, and we still are getting some of it here. Let me get rid of that. We still have some of it, but just not as pronounced as it was even just a half hour ago. All right, so let's go ahead and turn on our town so you can see exactly what city and town you are closest to. And this is near Upper Falls right now. The cool thing about this radar feature is that we can show where the storm is located and nearest what towns. Okay, so here's Upper Falls, here's Kingsville, here's Marywood. So Marywood, you're right over the hail core. So if there is hail, it's most likely located from Fork down to Marywood in Kingsville. As we head down to the south, if there is rotation, it would be near Bradshaw right now. So from Bradshaw to Upper Falls is where the most likely spot of rotation would be. Let's go ahead and get back on the radar for you. So if there is rotation just to the northwest of Bradshaw, here's Highway 7. So we have Highway 40 right here. We have Highway 7, and it's going to be just north and west of Highway 7 where that is located. Now, as we go ahead and put back on the wind, again, you're looking at the wind within the storm here as we take a look at it near Pleasant Hill, Falston. We're still getting a little bit of that rotational signature, but this warning doesn't expire for another 8 minutes, and I don't really see them letting it expire sooner because of the fact that we are still looking at some rotation. So if you are in the town of Pleasant Hills, again, another spot that the storm is going to be moving northeast at only 10 miles per hour, which at that point we basically call it stationary, expiring in just 8 minutes from right now. And at that point, hopefully we can eventually be done with this for the night and not have to deal with the risk of any more severe weather. Baldwin is another town that is dealing with some of that rotation right now. So from Falston down to Baldwin, that's where we're looking at that storm moving. And again, it's moving off to the northeast. So again, there's that warning polygon right here where that tornado warning is. And again, things just haven't really changed because the storm isn't really moving all that quickly here.
Is that an issue where you might have flash flood alert because of this? Is there any concern of flash flooding? Because this storm we've seen not move for 25 minutes almost.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, Jeff, because the quick answer is yes. I think flooding would be a concern. And in fact, parts of Hartford County right now has a flood warning until 8:15 p.m. because, like you just said, we do have that. You can see right there, we have the red polygon, which is the tornado, and then we have another green polygon. And so the issue is that if you're getting 1 to 2 inches of rain per hour, and this is going to be sitting on top of you for an hour, that water doesn't have anywhere to go. So again, the red is the tornado, and then the green right here, that would be that flooding threat here. And that goes until about 8 o'clock because right now this storm, I wouldn't be surprised if it's putting down 2 inches of rain per hour. That's what we're dealing with right now. Okay, so these types of storms, you don't want to go outside and look at them. Those of you who don't have a basement, nowadays a lot of people have a basement. If you don't have a basement, you just want to be somewhere in an interior room, like a closet, someplace that doesn't have windows. And the reason why is because a lot of times with those, the wind, what can happen is that if there's any kind of debris, it can actually smash a window. Don't want that to happen. So some kind of interior room. But like Jeff was just mentioning, even if you don't get a tornado, which I really hope that you don't, the other risk would be the flood potential. And that is a lot more expansive, covering a lot more jurisdiction because not only do we have the heavy rainfall, we also have a lot of this moderate rainfall here that is covering parts of Edgewood, that is covering parts of Riverside. And even out here in the yellow, we are talking rainfall rates, ½ inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch per hour. That is still in itself enough to put down some flooding, but it's mostly off to the west where we're talking up to 2 inches of rain per hour. It doesn't have anywhere to go. That's going to be a problem. There will be some localized flooding on roadways, okay? And people do this all the time. Don't be one of those people. Don't drive through standing water. You don't need me to tell you that, though. So you can just see at 5:25, we just got a new radar update, and it looks like that hook feature that we saw before, remember that hook? I'm not seeing it right now as much. So my gut instinct is that as soon as 5:30 comes around, the National Weather Service is going to go ahead and let that expire. I'm hoping that happens because at this point right now, I'm not seeing that classic textbook hook structure. But nonetheless, we are getting some good reports of hail. I mean, we've been looking at hail ½ inch, an inch in diameter, which is really remarkable, especially for this part of the country. Typically, you see that out in the Midwest or down south, but not here. And then off to the north, you can see that the backward side of that, that polygon, normally what we do is we trim that back, because if you're just north of Perry Hall, there's no rotation there anymore. Now the rotation would be moving closer to Pleasant Hills and just east of Kingsville, which is basically where it was a half hour ago, because the storm is stationary. It's not really moving all that quickly here. So I just want to do one more update. We're probably going to get back to news programming within the next couple of minutes, but I just want to get one last look here at velocity, which is essentially the wind, and there still is a little bit of rotation going on here. This right here is looking at the wind going away from the radar and the wind going towards the radar. And so as we head towards Glenwood, you can see right here we have the town of Glenwood and Glen Arm. You can see that right there is where that rotation is, and that will impact. Looks like we have Batter Brook Farms right there. Okay, so that is moving north and east, but as far as rotation goes, that is not all that remarkable. I have definitely seen stronger rotation. It doesn't mean that the storm can't produce a tornado. I mean, that's why we gotta cross our T's and dot our I's, because I've seen EF0s and EF1s be produced by velocity that looks like that. So at the same time, though, we also don't want to cry wolf either, because it is weakening. Okay, within the last couple of minutes, we saw a much stronger rotation. Now at this point in time, it looks like the rotation is weakening just a bit. So Fork, again, Pleasant Hills, these areas along Highway 1 and 147, these areas are going to be in line for that potential rotation here as we see that shifting north and east. But we are within the last couple of minutes right now, so I'm expecting this to eventually expire once we get to 5:28 p.m. You'll notice that, see how the warning is flashing? That's normally a sign that they will let it expire once we get to 5:30 p.m. So I'm hoping that happens so that we can get back to regular programming. Let me go ahead and turn off that and go back to hail, because you'll remember a while ago we were talking about the threat of hail, and I do want to see what's going on with the hail, whether or not the size has increased or gone down or whatnot. So let's go ahead and take a look at this here, and let's go ahead and get rid of the warning and look at the potential hail. And I'm looking at a different tool over here, and it's showing that we could be looking at hail up to a 1/2 inch diameter. That's not an improvement. That's also not worse than what we saw before. So at this point, we'll just go with it here and see what happens with the warning. So the rotation is off to the west out towards Greenwood. The hail core is going to be off towards Kingsville right now. And so the darker red and the pink that you see on the map, that is where that potential hail could be, that 1/2 inch to 1 inch diameter, which is just to the north of Bradshaw. Because this is moving northeast, I'm hopeful that the rotation does avoid towns like Bradshaw and Upper Falls, but we'll see exactly what happens with that. You'll see that now it is 5:30, and I'm just waiting to get word from NOAA to see if they're going to go ahead and let that expire, and they have gone ahead and let that expire, so that is good. The tornado warning has expired, but just to recap, rotation has improved. We are looking at a very strong hail core. We are looking at winds up to 60 miles per hour, so make sure to stay inside this evening. And again, I'll be the first one to tell you if any future warnings are issued. We'll send it back to you.